Greetings and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program and our ongoing efforts to develop a fully reusable space program in the Reusable Wizard endeavor. And so far, well, we haven't made a huge amount of progress. We have started at the beginning of the career mode, of course, so we have very little technology and funds, but we have developed a number of interesting craft that have succeeded in managing to bring in enough science to unlock a handful of technologies to the point where we left off, where we were flying the Featherfall Mark II, possibly, which had successfully flown out to the highlands, landed vertically under its Featherfall descent system, taken off vertically once again, and is now returning to the Space Center. But as we return, something goes awry. We experience some kind of control input failure and the ship goes into some kind of spin, losing control altogether. GT Kerman, of course, is not the most experienced pilot. We just kind of found her milling about the Space Center and said, "Hey, you're not wearing an orange suit. Why don't you come and work for us?" She was literally the only pilot applicant. Anyway, we try and recover the ship. We think maybe if we activate the rocket motor and give ourselves a little bit of a push out of it, but alas, it is to no avail, and the Featherfall comes crashing down to the planet's surface, failing the mission. Alas, perhaps attempting to return was a little optimistic, as it turns out, especially because, as was pointed out, we didn't actually repack the parachute either. In fact, we can't repack the parachute because you need an engineer to repack the parachute, and not a pilot, which is what we had. So we would have had to have been trying to make a vertical landing using the jets and indeed the rocket engine, which would have been, frankly, a miracle if we had managed to pull that off. So we might have to give up our hopes for the time being of using the Featherfall as a fly to target, land, do science, and fly back to the Space Center craft. Maybe with a few more tweaks we might be able to get it to work. We do keep butting up against the part count now though, which is going to make it difficult to evolve the design much beyond where it is currently. However, we can use it just to collect the science. So we fly out to the highlands, complete the landing procedure, collect the science, and then send out some boys from the Space Center, as it's only sort of just over there, to go and drag it back across the land and bring the science back that way, which is not ideal, but it is better than abject failure, let's face it. But what we do have in the Featherfall is a craft perfectly capable of flying around the near airspace of the Space Center and then returning safely back to the ground to return whatever it happens to have been doing. For example, focused observational studies of Kerbin. We've got tons of these contracts available and they all pay pretty well. So we grab a couple of these and we prepare to embark on our first truly commercial enterprise here in the Reusable Wizard endeavor, which is a campaign of focused observational studies for monies using the Featherfall as our primary observation vehicle. So we just roll one out to the runway, launch vertically, as indeed we always do, finding the targets nice and easy, as there is now an icon to follow once we actually get the Featherfall in control here. I was perhaps a little overzealous using the rocket engine to accelerate to such high speeds off of the launch. I think the idea was that I was going to race there super fast and complete the objective in record time, but actually, as it turns out, it's kind of difficult to control this thing at very high speeds. But we eventually get onto our target, and it's then just a matter of flying out to it. We got a little message once we were in the correct area, and then it was just a case of performing a crew report, keeping the data, which also actually, as it turned out, happened to be something that we needed at this point in time, and so we were able to retrieve all the science from it as well into the bargain. And then I figure at this point that I have to return to the Space Center, so we can only do one observational survey at a time, right? Because we only have one pilot, one crew report. The return flight is pretty straightforward. We used up a little bit of rocket fuel just to get us back a little bit faster, and indeed we arrive safe and sound in the airspace of the Space Center, ready to deploy our Featherfall descent mode activation system, that we like to call it, and we're going to try and nail a landing right in the middle of the Space Center here. Look, coming in. My plan is just to stall hard right over the Space Center. Look, pull up hard, pull up hard, pull up hard, and deploy the chute. Down it goes. We've overshot slightly our mark. We're going to kind of arc over a little bit. I kind of wanted to land right in the middle of the Space Center, just sort of like next to the vehicle assembly building or something. As it is, it looks like we're just going to be on the edge, but still very, very close. I mean, the boys who come out and collect this vehicle and take it back to the spaceplane hangar, they're not going to have to come far. I mean, we could pretty much just sort of amble over there, maybe have a cup of tea and a slice of cake from the staff canteen, and then drag it on back using whatever means we have. Look, it's right there. It's literally right there. A perfect landing. I mean, we haven't actually landed yet, but nearly. Now a perfect landing. Look at that. We just kissed the ground. Probably could have fired up the jets a little bit sooner and made it slightly softer, but as it is, nonetheless, a massively successful trip. Let's just reset our materials bay, just in case we're able to get extra science. Well, not really. Fine. Mission complete! And a nice bit of bonus science from it into the bargain, as well as all of those beautiful, lovely funds from completing the contract, and a little bit of reputation too. So we just press straight on with the second contract that we already had. It's another observational study, of course. That's just what we do right now. The launch and cruise phase goes quite well. I did use quite a lot of fuel in the initial launch to try and speed my approach. There's my target, look, up there over the mountains. In fact, I'm kind of thinking at this point it's pretty high up, so I start trying to gain some altitude. Like, I don't think, does it matter how high up it is? Reaching the vicinity, I attempt to do my crew report. And, hold on, what's happening? Can I reset the experiment? I don't seem to have been credited for actually taking the crew report. It's at this point that I realise that the contract calls for it to be in flight above 18,400 meters. That's pretty high up, so we activate our rocket engine and attempt to ascend to 18,400 meters. Do we have enough fuel in our engine though? That is the question. We used quite a lot on the launch, far more than we actually had to. There we go, we've run out of fuel. We might be able to cruise up high enough. We're doing 300 meters per second, 12,000 meters altitude, 13,000 meters altitude. I get the command pod ready so that we can complete the crew report. On the moment we crack that 18,400 meter mark, we're nearly there, 15,000, 16,000 meters, dropping, we're below 150 meters per second now, coming up on 17,000 meters. It's going to be so close. It's going to be so close. Can we possibly make it? We're dropping. I don't think we're going to make it. We're going to be just shy of the 18,400 meter mark. We have failed. Alas, we have failed to make it this time as we crest and begin to descend once again. Lesson learned, we try again, and this time we try and preserve as much of that launch fuel as possible. In actual fact, I think I probably burnt the rocket for considerably longer than I strictly speaking needed to. Arriving at the survey site, we relight that rocket engine once again and tear towards the heavens, attempting to reach that magic 18,400 meters altitude, whereupon we can complete our contract for more monies. We want all of the monies, of course. We need all of the monies. We need so many monies. We get rocket burnout at about 11,000, nearly 12,000 meters, and we're doing just over 400 meters per second. This should be ample to cruise up to the required altitude. The jet engines cut out just over 18,000 meters, and we are well into our target altitude. We conduct our crew report, which again gets us yet more science. Then we just take a few moments to relax, enjoy the sights, enjoy the ambience of this incredible vista over the planet Kerbin, which Treaty Kerman here is, of course, experiencing for the first time. This is the highest that anybody in this sub-universe has ever gone during a launch. Cresting at over 20,000 meters, the Featherfall tilts back down and prepares to descend and return to the Space Center once again. Jet engines, of course, kick back in as we descend into the thicker part of the atmosphere, and we're able to carry a lot of the speed from descending from such a high altitude back and return to the Space Center in record time. Well, we assume it's record time. Nobody was actually timing it. So we just kind of work on that assumption. And of course, once again, Treaty Kermit is going to attempt a spectacular landing right in the middle of the Space Center, stalling out as close to the Space Center as possible, activating the parachutes. We're going to carry past once again. Some distance. It looks like we're going to land somewhere between the vehicle assembly building and the launch pad. Activating, of course, the Featherfall's unique patented Featherfall activation descent mode system. Also bringing the jet engines up to speed a little bit earlier this time, trying to arrest our descent velocity as much as possible for a nice, gentle, feather-like landing in the middle of the Space Center. Fantastic landing, Treaty Kermin, and an excellently performed mission, height record, contract completed, some more science for the science bods. All in all, a fantastic endeavor. So with 2 of these observational surveys under our belt now, and that little kink of having to make sure that we reach the appropriate altitude worked out, it's time to get our heads down and earn some funds. With a montage, cue the music!
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Many successful survey flights later, we have built up the rather impressive bank balance of 383,602 funds, which of course is enough to upgrade our spaceplane hangar, or indeed the runway. But before we do that, we're going to try out a new design, a design submitted by Jonas, who is, of course, a fellow Kerbal engineer and channel patron. And it is the Jet 1. Here it is, look at that. It's a beautiful looking bird, built with my available tech, and apparently capable of taking off successfully from the runway in this pre-release, and it is still the pre-release at the time of recording. Now I note that although it does have a Science Junior, it did not have any Sciencey goo, and as we all know, Sciencey goo is of paramount importance. So I'm just going to chuck a couple on the side there. I hope that that doesn't disrupt its flight characteristics. Let's find out. No! Oh no! We're already getting some twist. What's going on? What's going on? Why is it going like that? Seems like something is definitely not right here. Clearly it's that hobo wizard causing all manner of nefarious activities. Look, I bet he's up there on one of those mountains, looking down on us and casting his evil and nefarious spells. Well, Hobo Wizard, there is no Hobo Industries at this point in the history of this Kerbal universe, so you can just get lost. It's just so wobbly. I mean, it's just insanely wobbly. It makes no sense. We are actually going straight though, sort of, more or less. Look, can we actually get off the ground? Can we get off the ground? I'm pretty sure we're at flight speed now, you know. Oh, we get off the ground! We're off the ground! It worked! Jonas, it worked! Oh, fantastic. Did it do that on your runway? I mean, that just was just freakish and bizarre. Okay, we're just going to land here. Perfectly, beautifully. Like a delicate leaf gently fluttering to the ground. Oh yes! Well, it's not the best place to land, but brakes on, brakes on, brakes on, brakes on. We might actually stop in time. Look, observe the mystery goo. It's the Kerbin grasslands. Surely this is the coast. Maybe if we just got a little bit closer to the water. I think I might have left it too late to turn around. Maybe we can take off from the water. seaplane. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that! Alright, we're going to go for full thrust. We're going to go for the takeoff. Observe the mystery goo. It's still the grasslands. Come on now. Oh, did we take off the... We took off the mystery goo, didn't we? Alas. We're going to do it. We're going to take off. This is actually quite a spectacular little plane. Look at this. We're off again. Success! Mission success. I mean, not obviously in actually finding any science. Oh, okay, we can keep that experiment. Apparently we've not done that over the grasslands. Can we observe the mystery goo? I mean, observe the material study whilst flying. Well, you know what? Keep it, and we're going to head back and we're going to try and run. We're going to try and land at the runway. Just lining up on the runway here. The bumpy, horrible runway. It might actually be easier to land next to the runway at the moment rather than on the terrible pitted excuse for a runway that we currently enjoy. Now, we do have the money potentially to upgrade the runway, but I think obviously it's much more important to upgrade the spaceplane hangar first. We're on a good approach here. By good approach, of course, I mean the runway is more or less in front of us. 100 meters per second. Glide slope is nominal. I mean, it's not nominal. It's probably terrible. You know, I imagine there's like, you know, people who actually know how to pilot planes properly looking at this thinking, oh god no! Oh god no, what's he doing? But it's fine. We're gonna nail this landing in incredible, spectacular fashion. Look at this. Look at this. I am a leaf on the wind. I am a leaf on the wind! I am a leaf on the wind. Brakes on. Brakes on. Oh yes, it's a beautiful landing. It's an absolutely beautiful landing. Oh yes, indeed. See me soar in the little Jet 1. Thanks a lot, Jonas, for submitting this design. It has been, after a slightly rocky start, a glorious success. And I am inspired. I'm inspired to return once again to the horizontal takeoff and landing, or at least some component of that. We'll kind of dip in and out of it, no doubt. Although, I do kind of like the vertical stuff as well. But right now, we're going to upgrade our spaceplane hangar because we need those larger craft. We can now build up to 255 part ships. And of course we get basic action groups, which could come in handy as well. We also have a little bit of science that we can perhaps spend. We want these struts. We definitely want to be able to strut things together, so I think we're probably going to go for general construction for the struts alone. The launch stability enhancers might also come in handy if we do struggle with the horizontal takeoff, which, let's face it, with larger craft remains a strong possibility. So we'll grab that now. We need to start turning our mind, of course, to suborbital and indeed orbital insertion flights. And a single stage to orbit is probably going to be beyond us for the time being, but if we can get down the path here to things like supersonic flight and then obviously ultimately hypersonic flight, then true single stage to orbit vehicles will become a possibility. But that, of course, will all have to wait until much later. Our short-term goal, however, will of course be to reach space any way we can, and with the current tech, that is going to mean a suborbital shot straight up and straight back down again, which will allow us, of course, to pick up some new contracts, new funds, and hopefully many, many new sciences. But until then, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I have been Weird Wizard, and I will see you later.